let people know that you're going on a journey from A to B. Save 4,000 gallons of water a year. Don't wash your car. Don't wash your history away.
Can you do it again, but don't block your face with the script?
I don't think we need to do that.
Put the script down.
Hi.
So join the conservation crusade with the city of West Hollywood. Save today, baby, for water tomorrow.
It's Eddie Robinson from WehoTV News. As we embrace technology to help us communicate better during the coronavirus pandemic, we're also discovering how it can help us better ourselves every day, not only physically with an exercise app, but also mentally. As a part of Los Angeles County, West Hollywood residents can download a free Plus subscription to the Headspace app to help us be mindful and active during the COVID-19 pandemic. Headspace will guide you through meditations in English and Spanish, help you work out and sleep. Through a partnership between the Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health and Headspace, the Plus subscription is free through the end of 2020 for all Los Angeles County residents and new subscriptions. Go to headspace.com/LA County to register and download the subscription. And visit weho.org/coronavirus for additional tips and resources to keep you mentally WeHo strong.
The city of West Hollywood continues its crusade to spread the word about water conservation. In fact, they recently held auditions for the role of water conservation crusader. Some of Hollywood's elite and not so elite showed up to try and land this prestigious park.
Pee Wee Herman.
La la la! Remember, don't take long showers! Ah! Blah, blah, blah.
Nick, what are you doing?
I don't know, man. You know, I just love the city of West Hollywood. And I just want to get the word out, about water conservation. Because I want there to be a future for the city of West Hollywood. And you know what? It all starts with water conservation.
Okay. Let's see what you got.
Oh my God, you're not going to regret this. You, my friend, are not going to regret this. What's the line?
So join the conservation crusade with the city of West Hollywood. Save today, baby, for water tomorrow.
Hey guys, if you missed the Mid-City Community Cleanup in April, it's not too late because in May, the city of West Hollywood will host 2 more community cleanup days. The first one being on May 7th at Plummer Park at 9 a.m. and the second one on May 21st at West Hollywood Park at 9 a.m. People of all ages are welcome to participate. And guys, don't worry because all volunteers will be provided with cleaning supplies and even refreshments. So let's get out there and beautify West Hollywood. For more information about this event or other volunteer events going on in the city of West Hollywood, visit weho.org/volunteer. I'm Nick Tyler for WehoTV News, and let me beautify that screen. Nice.
It's Eddie Robinson from WehoTV News. Maintaining your well-being and reducing stress during the coronavirus pandemic can present unique challenges. Go to weho.org/coronavirus where you can find tips to help you stay well while at home. Tips include reaching out to your loved ones. This doesn't have to be in person, of course. A phone call, video chat, or text can help maintain healthy relationships and create plans to look forward to in the future. You can also exercise to relieve stress and wipe away those blues. And with all of our adjusted schedules, make sure you're eating well and getting enough sleep. If you're feeling sad or depressed, that's another time to connect with others. If you're not comfortable talking to a friend or family member, call one of the hotline numbers available at weho.org/coronavirus for mental health support. You may also want to consider relaxation techniques such as meditation or deep breathing. Be sure and take time for yourself. And while you're at it, share these tips and follow at WehoCity on all social media for the latest updates from the city of West Hollywood.
I'm Nick Kelly for WehoTV News, and with baseball season upon us, you know what that means. It's our Play Ball Skills Clinic and Home Run Derby. It is back! Yes! On Saturday, May 21st from 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m., bring your glove and your bat and spend the day at West Hollywood Park's great lawn enjoying America's favorite pastime with friends, family, and community members. It's open to children ages 4 to 18, and refreshments and also souvenirs will be provided. The best thing is, guys, it's completely free. So come out for what will certainly be a fun day at the park. Just remember to keep your eye on the ball. And don't strike out like I did. Also, don't drop it like I did. For more information about our spring recreational events like this one, visit weho.org/recreation. I'm Nick Kelly for WehoTV News, and I will see you at the ballpark. All right, here we go. Show me what you got. I'm gonna bunt it. Ha! Hey, what's going on? Nick Catelli here for WehoTV News. And guess what, guys? Online registration for spring recreational programs is officially opened. Check out the virtual Weho Rec Reader online, and it's going to list all of the amazing spring recreational programs and events we have planned. We have activities for tots, we have activities for teens, we have activities for seniors, and everyone in between. We have a little something for everyone in the family. Now, a few highlights and some cool things that are going to be making a return this spring are Camp West Hollywood, movies in the park, the Play Ball Skills Clinic, and boom, Home Run Derby, and my personal favorite, Junk in the Trunk. Now, guys, remember all participants ages 2 and up will be required to wear face masks for all indoor activities. Participants ages 18 years and up will be subject to a vaccine verification. Remember, guys, we gotta stay safe out there. So check us out at weho.org/recreation and follow us on Instagram and Facebook at WehoRec for all of the amazing up-to-date information about what's going on in the city of West Hollywood. I'm Nick Catelli for WehoTV News, and I will see you guys this spring.
The city of West Hollywood continues its crusade to spread the word about water conservation. In fact, they recently held auditions for the role of water conservation crusader. Some of Hollywood's elite and not so elite showed up to try and land this prestigious park.
Bobby Cannavale?
Yo, 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 it's Bobby.
You're not Bobby.
I know, but I'm Nick Catelli. People say Bobby looks just like me. I'm Nick Catelli from WehoTV News.
This is only for celebrities.
Well, in 1.9 square miles, I'm somewhat kind of well known.
Never heard of you.
Can I just do the line? I spent $1,000 on acting classes. I can do it. Okay. Okay. Don't overwater your lawn. Check your sprinklers.
That's bad. Adam Sandler?
Okay. Yeah. Holy run the dishwasher when it's fully loaded. Save 50 gallons of water, 'cause you're no fool. Sabadoo!
Can you take that mask off, please? I know it's you, Nick.
Sabadoo?
John Hamm.
Gentlemen, I don't sell scripts. I sell dreams. And the dream is this. Keep the dirt on your car. Save the adventure. Save a life. Let people know that you're going on a journey from A to B. Save 4,000 gallons of water a year. Don't wash your car. Don't wash your history away.
Can you do it again, but don't block your face with the script?
I don't think we need to do that.
Put the script down.
Hi.
Pee Wee Herman.
La la la!
Remember,
Don't take long showers!
blah, blah, blah.
Nick. What are you doing?
I don't know, man. You know, I just love the city of West Hollywood. And I just want to get the word out, about water conservation. Because I want there to be a future for the city of West Hollywood. And you know what? It all starts with water conservation.
Okay. Let's see what you got.
Oh my God, you're not going to regret this. You, my friend, are not going to regret this. What's the line?
So join the conservation crusade with the city of West Hollywood. Save today, baby, for water tomorrow.
Hoy hoy, I'm Nick Catelli for WehoTV News, and hey, did you guys know that we have a West Hollywood, wait for it, official app? Yeah, I just blew your mind. And it includes a variety of features and functions to help connect West Hollywood residents and businesses to City Hall. The most amazing function of the City app is its service request tool. It's pretty nifty. The tool featured front and center on the app's interface allows people to quickly and easily report issues, such as potholes or graffiti, abandoned items, to even streetlight outages. They have put the power of City Hall in your pocket. The West Hollywood official app is available for free for iPhone users on the App Store and for Android users on Google Play. To learn more about this amazing app, check out WeHo.org. I'm Nick Catelli for WehoTV News, and now I have the power of the city in the palm of my hand. And I forgot to charge it. So I have no power, but it's still in the palm of my hand.
Hello, David.
Cool. I can hear you, I can see you, and your logo is good.
Okay, now I can hear you.
Okay, you hear me
You
okay?
you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, I can see you, and your logo is good. So you're good to go.
Great, thank you.
Okay, see you in a bit.
Mr. Gillig, are we ready?
confirmation from CATV regarding the streaming. It looks like they may have a couple issues, so let's hold off a couple minutes.
Okay.
Okay, Chair and Commissioners, we just received everything is good to go from the streaming platforms and the CATV side. So you can call the meeting to order at any time you'd like now, Chair.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. I am calling to order this regularly scheduled meeting of the West Hollywood Planning Commission. It is Thursday, June 16th, and it is 6:33 p.m., and I will now read the script for our virtual meeting. In an effort to protect public health and prevent the spread of COVID-19, AB 361 has authorized public meetings to take place via teleconference because state and local officials are recommending measures to promote social distancing. This Planning Commission meeting is being conducted via teleconference on the city's website and is also provided on a wide array of streaming media platforms to offer access to the public to the fullest extent possible. WehoTV staff have confirmed that this Planning Commission meeting is currently streaming successfully on Spectrum Channel 10 and online at weho.org/WehoTV. In addition, and as a courtesy, this meeting is also successfully streaming on the city's YouTube channel at youtube.com/WehoTV and on Roku, Apple TV, Fire TV, and Android TV. WehoTV staff monitor this broadcast on all platforms throughout the meeting and will notify the Planning Commission Secretary should broadcast disruptions arrive. Please do not interrupt the live meeting by calling or texting the Planning Commission about difficulties viewing the meeting. In addition, you may call in or listen to this meeting by dialing 669-900-6833, meeting ID 843-4171-1122, and then press the pound sign. Please understand that internet speeds, device reliability, third-party platform reliability, and individual or personal technical issues are out of the scope of this broadcast. If you're experiencing viewing difficulties while watching this live stream, please reload the page or visit weho.org/WehoTV to access our official live stream and to view a list of other available streaming options and a guide to troubleshoot your connection. If you continue to experience difficulties, you can also call 323-848-3151. I will now read our city's land acknowledgement. The West Hollywood Planning Commission acknowledges that the land on which we gather, and that is currently known as the City of West Hollywood, the occupied, unceded, Peace territory of the Gabrielino Tongva and Gabrielino Kizh peoples. And now I would like to ask Commissioner Gregoire to read the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. And item 3 is roll call. Mr. Gillick, can I have you do roll call, please?
Thank you, Chair. Tonight, Stacy Jones will be officially absent from this meeting. All roll call votes will reflect that. And we have Commissioner Thomas sitting in as acting chair. Commissioner Lombardi.
Here.
Commissioner Gregoire.
Here.
Commissioner Carvalero.
Here.
And acting chair Thomas.
Here.
And we have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Gillick. Next item is approval of the agenda. Do I have any requests or motions for changes, or can we move the agenda as it is currently written?
I move the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Gregoire with a second by Commissioner Cavallero.
Thank you. Commissioner Lombardi.
Yes.
Commissioner Gregoire.
Yes.
Commissioner Carvalero.
Yes.
Acting Chair Thomas.
Yes.
And the agenda for June 16th, 2022 is approved as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Gillick. Item 5 is approval of the minutes, and the minutes have been tabled until the next meeting. Item 6 is public comment. Mr. Gillick, do we have any public comments?
I do. I have received a couple public comment speakers. Before I call them, if there is anybody on the platform with us that would like to make a general comment at this time, use the raised hand feature if you're on the Zoom platform. If you're calling in from the telephone, hit *9 for me. That'll let me know. And we'll give you 3 minutes to speak. Our first public speaker will be Michael Volkolevich. And Michael, if you unmute, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening, commissioners, city staff, and those from the public who are listening. His name is Michael Wojtkiewicz. I was going to begin tonight by reiterating the same quote that I began with at last Planning Commission 2 weeks ago, but given concern for perhaps an open-ended edge, whether perceived, inherent, or even applied, let me echo something spoken from the physical lectern inside council chambers a few years ago, before COVID. Name a place, name a time. The context. An absolute willingness to engage discussion with any commissioner, past, present, or future, whether on planning or something other, on an ever-widening array of issues and concerns, but possibly, even more importantly, the consequences which come from real-life case models that have played out right here within West Hollywood. That latter point allows light shed and proof shown for whether the decisions made and or concessions granted actually hold up to the values the city claims, the arguments made by an applicant, and the rationale used by every commissioner as each casts their vote. Any place, any time. And please accept the gesture for what it is, a fair and friendly offering and not an unfair mandate. After all, how often does one have opportunity to engage with someone who has not only worked within the many components of architecture, from high-end retail to AIA honor-awarded SoCal burger stand, from the retro-esque Men in Black thrill ride interior and facadescape to whatever the future actually does hold for affordable housing. Experience in affordable housing ranges from the architectural to the boardroom, as in nonprofit developer, to the actual day-to-day usability that comes only when one actually lives within such housing. Additionally, objective assessment for any service deemed important and or essential for the demographic targeted, whether wraparound or not, is only possible when one lives within affordable housing and has dealt with resident service providers. That stated, whether recognized or not, there is takeaway from the fact the applicant developer on last agenda item for planning 2 weeks ago is not using any of the wide array of service providers long contracted by City of West Hollywood. Lastly, there remains question as to whether WeHo's housing goal H6, which is to affirmatively further fair housing for all, is met. Given that the intent, which is to promote equal opportunity for residents to reside in the housing of their choice, one must wonder whether even an unhoused person who may find themselves aging in place within a small 430 square foot studio without any private open space meets the threshold of housing choice. I end on what should be no secret. There exists a relatively new building but a half-mile away within West Hollywood that shows the arguments used by owner-developer applicant for 1201, 1207 Detroit, arguments heard by this commission and obviously used to grant certain concessions, are far short from actual reality. Instead, are hopeful fantasy with very little basis and grip on the real world. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you, Michael. And our next and final speaker will be Lynn Russell. Lynn, go ahead and unmute, and we'll give you 3 minutes to make your comment.
Are we on?
Yes, we are.
Are we
Go ahead,
on?
Lynn. Yeah, we can hear you.
Thank you, David.
You're welcome.
Thank you, David. Good evening, Vice Chair Thomas and fellow commissioners. Unfortunately, scheduling issues prevented me from speaking at the last hearing when the 1201, 1207 North Detroit project was under review. I would like to point out that beyond the mild suggestion of the project being 100% affordable housing contained in the staff report, the fact that 50% of the project was actually directed toward unhoused individuals, which is well and good. In essence, this was not revealed until a query was made by Commissioner Thomas about the demographic makeup of the potential residents, but it did not elicit discussion as it should have. The following day, I had conversations with the planner, Derek Purification, and the architect, who were unable to provide any additional details other than my understanding from the meeting that services would be provided by St. Joseph's under the purview of the developer, Mr. Spielberg, in coordination with the city, but not relevant information was included in the staff report. It seems it would have been fair to expect a presentation from housing, perhaps including Allison Bartle, regarding the scope of the unhoused program and the logistics of managing such an operation within the project and whatever accommodations were envisioned for the neighborhood. My point is this: despite the planner acknowledging that he had authorized the staff report and that it had been approved by Jennifer Alkire and possibly John Keogh, a full picture of this project should have been illuminated to everyone, the commission and especially the public seeking their response. It was sad to hear that the immediate neighbor at 1211 North Detroit, adjacent to the project, who had prepared observations, was somehow foreclosed from commenting at the proper interval during the meeting, and unfortunately, not until after the vote had occurred. As the unhoused aspect came as a big surprise to him, he quickly revised his comments, but again, it was after the fact and after the vote. It seems like an important issue to have been rather casually handled and should have been open to further inquiry without presuming that the neighbor, Mr. Bellido, would be required to follow up with an onerous appeal being his only option. This was a very unattractive move that the city should admit to and find a way to correct. I believe it would be incumbent upon the commission to follow up on this mishap and find some suitable resolution. Thank you so much. I appreciate your the opportunity to inform you of this.
Thank you, Lynn. And Chair, that is our last public speaker for this item.
Thank you. Item 7 is Director's Report. Mr. Kehoe is not here today, so who will be speaking in his stead?
He's not able to join today, but I can give his update in his place. So just to update you on what's coming up on City Council. On the June 27th special meeting, that's just a special meeting because the date is different than our normal date. We'll be reviewing the budget, and the council will be giving official direction on a survey of the R1A and R1C zoning districts. That was a direction that came from the May 16th meeting, and so we're bringing that back. And also 8730 Sunset Boulevard, the billboard that was approved, recommended for approval by this body on May 19th, will also be heard by the commission or by the council. And then I also wanted to update you all on a Metro Metro staff has made commitments to complete the draft EIR for the Metro Crenshaw LAX line Northern Extension project. It's a lot of words, by the fall of next year, including a Metro board decision on the route for this line, which is called the locally preferred alternative. So this month, Metro will hold 2 virtual community meetings. The first was actually today at noon, but if you missed that one, there's another one coming on Tuesday, June 21st at 6 p.m. It's critical that community members and stakeholders participate in these meetings and that their voice their support for San Vicente Fairfax hybrid route, which will provide the most stops in West Hollywood. So if you can't attend the meetings, for commissioners and any of the public who is watching, you can email Metro written comments at crenshawnorth@metro.net. That's Crenshaw North, all one word, @metro.net, or through Metro's online public comment tool. And more details are available at weho.org/metro. And that is all I've got for the director's report tonight. So unless you have questions for me.
Could you give me the date again for the Metro meeting?
Yes, of course. It's Tuesday, June 21st. That's next Tuesday at 6 p.m.
Thank you. That's the end of your report. Thank you so much. Item 8 is commissioner comments. Do we have any comments? Commissioner Lombardi?
Thank you, Acting Chair. I do have one comment. It's with regards to item 11A and 11B, just to give a heads up. I'm wondering, because we have a limited number of commissioners currently due to vacancies, and also taking into consideration that we're looking at zone text amendments that were presented to Long Range Planning Subcommittee. However, we do not have any members of those subcommittees here. If it would perhaps be appropriate to hear the staff reports and receive public comments, but perhaps postpone deliberation and voting. And I just wanted to kind of get that out there to think about at this time.
So we will be addressing those vacancies when we get to that point in the agenda, and I'm on Long Range.
Okay, and apologies that I do not have all the history here. Were you present at either of those meetings, Acting Chair?
I have the breakdown of what was discussed in those meetings in the staff report, so that I was going to relay what was outlined in the report.
Okay, well, I guess we can address as the agendas come forward. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Lombardi. Any other comments? Okay, item 9 is consent calendar, and there are no consent items. We will now move on to our public hearing, which is a zone text amendment post-pandemic action items. The Planning Commission will hold a public hearing to consider 2 proposed zone text amendments to 1, allow qualifying restaurants to sell alcoholic beverages for on-site and off-site consumption consistent with recent state law, and 2, eliminate outdoor dining parking requirements. The order of the hearing shall be as follows. We will open the public hearing, followed by disclosures, and then a presentation of staff report, a presentation of the subcommittee report, questions of staff from the commission, and then we will move on to a presentation by the applicant, which doesn't apply today for this particular zone text amendment, but this is the outline of how public hearings take place with the Planning Commission in general. After that, we will have testimony of public, rebuttal, closure of the public testimony portion of hearing, response of staff, discussion by commission, action, and then close of public hearing. So we will officially open the public hearing, and the next item on the flow of the hearing is disclosures, which isn't applicable, and then we can move on to the presentation of staff report.
Thank you. And let me share my screen. Can everyone see my screen? Okay, great. Good evening, Acting Chair Thomas and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Paige Portwood. I'm the Associate Planner for Long Range Planning Division. Joining me tonight is Ann McIntosh, Long Range Planning and Sustainability Manager. The item before you this evening is a packaged item, which consists of two proposed zone text amendments. One, to allow qualifying restaurants to sell alcoholic beverages for on and off-site consumption, and two, to eliminate outdoor dining parking requirements. We have created this presentation to explain the broader context of the item. Then we will dive deeper on each individual zone text amendment. The two proposed zone text amendments have largely emerged from temporary ordinances and/or temporary state regulations that went into effect in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Alcoholic beverages sold at restaurants were allowed to be sold for takeout starting in May 2020, and outdoor dining became more prevalent across the country and certainly in the city of West Hollywood starting in June 2020 with the OutZone program. These zone text amendments are part of a larger council directive initiated by staff in December 2021. The purpose of this item was to transition some of the successful elements of the temporary ordinances to permanent policy. Other directives that are within the post-pandemic action item directive include establishing a permanent program for outzones in the public right-of-way, creating a unified vision for the public realm regarding outzones by way of design standards, and to allow businesses 6 months following the end of the emergency ordinance to remove the outzone operations or apply under the permanent program. Staff received input on the item from the LRP Projects Subcommittee on March 17th, 2022. For the outdoor parking requirement item, the subcommittee asked that staff look at excluding ADA parking and loading spaces from being able to be displaced by outdoor dining. They also asked us to look at the commercial parking spillover onto residential streets, conduct additional outreach to what was done in 2021, almost a year ago, and to estimate how many outdoor dining spaces were over 250 square feet. So today we have come back with some more information on those questions. Staff amended the proposed zoning code to reflect that ADA parking would not be displaced by outdoor dining. We confirmed with both the parking division and code compliance that complaints and citations related to parking had no significant increase in the last 2 years. And those were in areas particularly of higher concentrations of outzones, which are the only outdoor dining areas right now under the temporary urgency ordinance that don't have parking requirements. We did outreach with our business community through the Chamber of Commerce. So we presented at the Governmental Affairs Committee meeting and the All Business meeting, both of which voiced positive feedback on both zone text amendments that we presented. Staff also found that there are about 40 out of 88 permanent outdoor dining spaces in the city that are over 250 square feet. So now we'll dive deeper into the individual zone text amendments. The first zone text amendment pertains to alcoholic beverage sales and is largely being presented to align with state law. Since we visited the LRP subcommittee, staff has added an element to the proposal to reduce the level of permit that is required for restaurant businesses who would like to sell alcoholic beverages on and off site. To provide background about what the state regulations are, prior to 2020, alcohol for takeout and delivery was not allowed at restaurants. During the pandemic, the state temporarily allowed all food and beverage establishments to sell alcohol with food for takeout and delivery. Now, as we move into this post-pandemic transition, alcohol for takeout is allowed until January 2027. But delivery is still prohibited. I also wanted to outline some terms that we use in this presentation, as well as the zone text amendment itself. On-site consumption in the terms of the zone text amendment is the standard restaurant scenario where a customer visits a food and beverage establishment. They order, purchase, and consume the food and or the alcoholic beverage on site. Off-site consumption, which is referred to as off-sale consumption by the state, is when a customer orders and purchases food or an alcoholic beverage off-site, off the premises of the restaurant, whether it be online or through the phone, but goes and picks up the order from the restaurant and then consumes it off the premises of the establishment. Just to summarize the bill really briefly, the details are in Exhibit D of the item. It allows takeout at qualifying restaurants until January 2027 unless extended. It allows beer, wine, and liquor for takeout via pickup from a restaurant, being that it is within the regulations of state law regarding being sealed in a container. It's limited to 2 alcoholic beverages per individual meal. The alcoholic beverage and meal may only be picked up by the purchaser with proper identification, and no delivery is allowed. So diving into the code a little bit, you will see that the current regulations in the West Hollywood Municipal Code does not mention offsite consumption for restaurants, since it was not previously allowed at the state level. Additionally, the permit requirement for on-site consumption is a conditional use permit for residential zoning districts for on-site alcoholic beverage sales, and a minor conditional use permit for commercial zoning districts. So the proposal before you tonight is foremost to align local policy with state law, and it includes off-site consumption for restaurants in residential and commercial zoning districts. Additionally, it proposes to reduce the permit requirements for alcoholic beverage sales. So that would mean that in residential zoning districts, it would require an MCUP, a minor conditional use permit, rather than a conditional use permit. For commercial zones, alcoholic beverages could be permitted through an administrative permit. And staff is presenting this evening with the results that the findings that we have seen. In the last year alone, 14 separate public hearings were held for alcoholic beverage sales alone through a director's hearing. It would save businesses money. Minor conditional use permits due to the noticing and the signage that's required can cost up to $9,000 for residential zones. That's up to $12,500. And it would also save time, but it should be noted that an administrative permit is still discretionary, and both the MCUP and administrative permit can be appealed. This is additional language that was amended and is proposed in the language of the code. So we just add to the alcoholic beverage sales section of the municipal code that all state regulations apply. And they must adhere to the requirements of the state. Offsite, the term offsite is synonymous with off-sale consumption, and that it expires January 1st, 2027, unless extended by state law. We additionally added the 3 different types of alcoholic beverage sales that would require an administrative permit. So that includes alcoholic beverage sales on site. Outdoor dining with late night alcohol would actually still require a director's hearing. And then restaurants with on and off site consumption does not require a director's hearing, and it would just be an administrative permit. We did have these two changes for the record for your consideration, to add to the last sentence of the alcoholic beverage sales section of the code. And then also to amend clarify the definition of the ABC department, which is the State Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control. So with that, we'll pause for questions before we move on to the next zone text amendment.
Commissioner Lombardi.
I have a couple of questions. First of all, I do have a few questions for staff, but then also further to my comments earlier, and this may be for Isaac. Since we're bundling these two items together, how would we proceed if there were consideration to hold on decisions until we had more commissioners present?
Believe they've been noticed as a single item, as a public hearing item. So I think you could, in theory, take one and continue the other if you'd like, because the public hearing has been noticed. Although I would ask probably staff's request on that if that's ultimately what is the commission's desire, just in case of administrative hurdles and the plan to take both up as a single public hearing item.
That is correct. They were both noticed separately, so one could continue and the other could be, approved. But they are.
If I could jump in, good evening, commissioners. I don't know that would be, there would be a reason to do that. I think, our goal would be to take them both together. It's just more efficient. I mean, unless there was a substantive issue with one of the provisions that we're recommending, it just makes more sense to continue keeping these two items together.
Commissioner Lombardi.
Thank you. I agree with that. I think efficiency is good in this case. And so part of why I'm asking is because I would like to ask questions, but I don't want to ask questions and then put in a motion and add confusion. So
yeah, I think we just were pausing now just because we're going to change gears a little bit. So if anybody had a question right now about just the alcohol before we switch gears, but you can ask questions at the end as well about the whole thing.
Then I will hold on questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so I will continue if that's okay with you.
I actually have a question about this section. So I was looking at the state law, and it makes mention of how the beverages have to be in manufacturer prepackaged containers when they're ordered, and then the mixed drinks have to be in a container that has a secure lid and a cap that's sealed. And I've heard questions about what constitutes secure packaging. I've heard that I've just heard from different bars and restaurants about how they were packaging mixed drinks, and in the interest of not creating an undue burden on our already struggling businesses, I was just wondering if someone on staff can articulate secure packaging, and do we have a description of what secure packaging means relative to state law?
I think that is a requirement of the ABC and not of the city's
I understand
legislation. So
what I'm trying to get to ultimately is I just want there to be a little bit, just some sort of understanding. I don't want the businesses to be in a position where they have to buy or potentially have to buy new cups. So I'm just wondering if we can get some clarity. Like some of the bars said that they were able to put it in their regular cups and tape it up and not provide a straw. And so I'm just wondering if we can get a little bit of clarity on what is secure packaging Or, could we be in a situation where our businesses have to buy additional items in order to have secure lids and cups?
Yeah, I think one of the things we could do just as a service to our, business community is we could try to get more clarity on that and maybe put together some public information, a flyer that says, this is good, this isn't good, something like that. And maybe the state has some of that as well. So we could certainly put together some public information materials if that would help.
Okay.
Not exactly.
And to your
It's
point,
avoiding the issue.
the zoning code doesn't regulate beyond the state requirements. So the city of West Hollywood businesses would not be required to seal their alcoholic beverages any more than any other business throughout the state. So we're not putting any additional regulations on what the businesses, how the businesses seal their alcoholic beverages to go.
No, I appreciate that. I didn't think that that's what we were doing. I was just wondering if the state law had some level of parameters so that our businesses just know what to look forward to, because especially with supply chain disruptions, do they need to start planning for, getting new materials, or can they continue with what they were doing during COVID, which was, taping a cup, taping it over the slot for the straw, not providing a straw? Can they continue in that fashion? That was basically what I was asking.
Acting Chair, I think I can step in briefly. I don't have a super definitive answer from the state law, but it does state, I checked to see if ABC has anything more explicit than what's actually within the codified state statute, but it is described as a secure litter cap that is sealed in a manner designed to prevent consumption without removal of the litter cap by breaking the seal, with the purpose being meant to preclude someone from having an open container in a vehicle. So I know it's not a full answer in terms of what specifically is required. And I think, as Anne mentioned, I expect maybe there will be more guidance and the city can look into sort of do's and don'ts. But I did want to just note sort of that additional context from the state statute.
Great, thank you. That was my only question.
Okay, so the next item is the zone text amendment to eliminate outdoor dining requirements, parking requirements. Through our research, we found a few items that provide support for eliminating outdoor dining parking in West Hollywood. Foremost, our outreach efforts suggest that the business community supports this item and it does not see any negative effects on the business's success. It should also be noted that this zone text amendment fits within a larger city council directive to evaluate parking minimums for different land uses throughout the city, which was initiated in February and is currently being researched by staff. Finally, we looked at a few neighboring cities who have showcased exceptional outdoor dining programs through the pandemic and are now moving towards a permanent outdoor dining program. Most notably, San Diego is widely known for the success of their outdoor dining program, and it has no parking minimums for its outdoor dining spaces except in the small coastal zones. Long Beach has also paved the way for outdoor dining within the county and has no parking requirements for outdoor dining in the public right-of-way. We also looked at Culver City, which utilizes pooled parking for their downtown area, which allows businesses to utilize both on and off-street public parking spaces to meet parking requirements for their businesses. Before we dive into the language of the code, we did want to clearly showcase the types of outdoor dining areas that are addressed or will be addressed in the zone text amendment. On the left-hand side, these two photos are an example of outdoor dining in the public right-of-way. and that would be on the sidewalk or potentially in the metered parking street area. The middle photo shows the modifications that Connie and Ted's did along on Santa Monica Boulevard, which they made a larger outdoor dining space on the surface parking lot. This meant that during the pandemic, they reduced the parking spaces available for their indoor dining space, which was worth it at the time since indoor dining was limited or restricted. The last photo shows the outdoor dining space at Shake Shack, which incorporates the outdoor dining space within private property entirely, and it is approved through the current planning and entitlement process. It does not involve any encroachment permits or additional business licensing. Currently, outdoor dining requires an administrative permit for approval. If the patio is in the public right-of-way, it requires a permit from Public Works and then also an administrative permit as well. So the existing municipal code says that no parking is required for outdoor dining areas up to 250 square feet. For outdoor dining that is greater than 250 square feet, 3.5 spaces for every 1,000 square feet of outdoor dining is required. And the code does not allow at this time outdoor dining to be on off-street parking lots. What staff is proposing is outdoor dining being listed as a separate use in the parking requirements land use table. With that, no additional parking to be required no matter the square footage of the space, and that outdoor dining would be allowed to replace or reduce up to 100% of off-street parking spaces or parking lots, except for existing ADA parking or loading spaces for restaurants. We've included this map and some additional figures regarding our parking network in the city. So if you see here on the map, there are blue dots, and apologies for the size. This is a laid out map. But these blue dots indicate the public parking facilities that are primarily concentrated near or around commercial zones in the city. And they are throughout the city too. So there's not a high concentration of public parking facilities that are just on the west side or just on the east side. They are kind of spread throughout. I also wanted to mention that our businesses in West Hollywood often apply for a valet business license, and we got that stat that 110 businesses in the city use valet. Currently, the city also established a drop-off pickup locations, and we have 30 across the city. And then we also have significant meter numbers throughout the city, and mainly the commercial corridors in different areas of the commercial areas. So we just wanted to note that as well. That concludes the presentation portion of this item, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Commissioner Gregoire.
Hi, thank you. I just had one question. You know, I saw in the staff report that the city was evaluating parking minimums. You know, sometimes when I get an item like this, I think, gosh, it's really the city council that has to make public policy pronouncements with respect to this type of thing. I guess my question is, has the city council given staff or the commissions any guidance on public parking minimums in this type of issue?
Yes, so that was an item that was a council directive. So staff did not initiate that item, and it was given to staff by council.
And it's on a work program.
Oh, okay. I guess the question was has the city council already given some guidance on this issue? I know that staff is being asked to evaluate it. I was not sure if there was any sort of guidance that the commission should take into consideration in reviewing this item tonight.
That's a good question. The direction to review something typically is interpreted as meaning there's an interest in seeing if it's possible. So I think that, in the absence of evidence that it would be detrimental, there's a desire to see something move forward. So that's how I would interpret that.
Okay, so other than the directive to evaluate the parking minimums, there haven't been any policy pronouncements from the city council on this topic.
They want to hear from the commission, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Terrific.
And
Thank
so
you.
I think during your deliberation, any issues, much like Paige talked about the LRP subcommittee raising certain issues that we then went and, kind of looked at a little further. After tonight's meeting, any comments that the commission would make, we would do the same thing before we go to the city council. So if you express a concern about something or raise an additional issue that we should consider, we would do that prior to taking it to the city council. And we reflect that this came from the planning commission.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? I have a question. Thank you for showing us the number of meters. We don't have anything that shows a map of the restaurants currently using parking as dining and their proximity to parking structures and street lots. Do we have anything like that?
We currently don't have a map that exists with both those items.
Okay. Can we move on to the subcommittee report, or does anyone have a question?
I guess now's my time to get out questions for both items. Is that correct?
We're going a little bit out of turn, so you can ask now, you can ask after the subcommittee report, either.
I will ask after.
Okay. So on March 17th, 2022, staff presented both zone text amendment items to the Long Range Planning Subcommittee. Staff drafted an initial version of the zone text amendment that only amended language regarding off-site consumption, and the Long Range Planning Subcommittee directed staff to do 4 things. The first of which was to exclude ADA parking and loading spaces from being eliminated from off-street parking lots. Staff amended the proposed ZTA to exclude ADA parking and loading spaces from being able to be eliminated or reduced. Staff also consulted with Building and Safety, who confirmed that if a business is required to have no off-street parking spaces, then no ADA parking would be required. The committee asked staff to look into the impacts of overflow of commercial parking into residential permit parking areas, and staff reached out to code compliance and parking enforcement to assess the parking impact of the temporary out zones in a number of complaints and or parking citations. Code compliance reported no complaints were made over the last 2 years regarding lack of parking due to the out zones. Additionally, parking enforcement saw little to no increase in the number of citations in residential permit parking areas. Most of the parking citations in commercial corridors have been related to parking in red zones, obstructing traffic from deliveries, and peak hour parking. The subcommittee also asked for additional outreach, and as mentioned in the presentation, staff presented 2 Chamber of Commerce hosted meetings for the business community, and finally the subcommittee asked staff to assess how many outdoor dining spaces have been permitted and how many are greater than 250 square feet. Staff estimates that there are about 88 permanent outdoor dining spaces in the city, with 54% being over 250 square feet. That's 40. There are 68 temporary outdoor dining spaces, with 79% of those over 250 square feet. That is 54. And it should be noted that temporary outdoor dining spaces will have to reapply under the permanent program and are not guaranteed an outdoor dining space of the same size, location, or footprint. And the subcommittee members approved to continue both zone text amendments to the Planning Commission. That concludes the subcommittee report. And then we can, are there any additional questions of staff? Mr. Lombardi.
Yeah.
Commissioner Lombardi.
All right, if appropriate now, I guess I'll go back to my questions on the first resolution relating to alcohol beverage sale. My question there is, I understand the intent to make this somewhat permanent. The pandemic plans currently with off-site sale of alcohol, but my question is really about some of the changes in terms of the process that we have in terms of reviewing conditional use permits and NCUPs. And I'm wondering, could staff maybe explain to me what was presented to long-range planning and what was reviewed versus what we're looking at now? Because my understanding is that some of those elements have been added in at this time, which were not reviewed during the long-range planning subcommittee meetings.
So I can speak to that. The work program for text amendments coming up to Planning Commission and City Council this coming year is rather vast, because we have a series of housing issues that we're going to be bringing forward. This one issue about the hearing process is something that the city has been considering for a long time, and it's the only other alcohol-related issue that we would be bringing forward. And because we're amending the table and all of the development guidelines for alcohol, this kind of outlier hadn't been addressed, and so we added it to this agenda tonight. And it has not been reviewed separately by the long range subcommittee. It is a director's procedural. Well, it's a director's procedure, and this is something that the director has suggested. I think we included a statistic that there have been 53 MCUPs issued and only one was appealed in some number of years' time. And so we're asking the commission to consider this as part of this package for the alcohol. And if the commission is, uncomfortable with that particular provision, we can let the council know that there was some reservations in moving that forward. But we don't want to delay the review of the pandemic era policies for that one item.
And could you help explain the urgency of this item and why you do not want to delay?
Well, we're trying to keep the text amendments flowing in a sequence. And like I said, we have probably 16 more, I think, on our list to do. So we're hoping to move these forward.
Okay. And is there any reason that the decisions that occurred review with the long range planning subcommittee were not represented back again, since that information was not available for their use at that time?
I wasn't working for the city at the time this went to the long range committee, so I don't know. This was on a list of things to consider, and it just wasn't included as part of the alcohol. So it was my recommendation as the interim planning manager that we that it would be less confusing to bring it all together at once and amend the table and the standards and the procedures just once. And so we're asking that you consider that. That's kind of the best explanation I can give.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Acting Chair Thomas, would now be a good time to jump to the other questions relating to parking?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. So on the revisions to parking, I understand all of these changes and appreciate the recommendations that came in from Long Range Planning Subcommittee. And the only question I really have is a little bit more design related, and this may be specific to only a few sites, but the idea of requiring that ADA parking remain as well as loading zones makes sense to me, but I am wondering on certain sites, in particular, if there's an entrance drive and there is not an alley access, those spots or loading zones may be in a difficult position to have outdoor dining and provide access to those locations. So I just want to make sure I understand, and is it clear to businesses how they would make those arrangements, or are they losing potential space to meet these requirements? Or is there a process in which they could maybe relocate those accessible parking spots or loading zones to better suit the arrangement of outdoor dining, and how this all comes into play, if this is something that maybe needs to be addressed with some of the zone text, or if it's something that would go into design guidelines or other review processes to consider this and to make it an easier, more efficient and consistent process. I'm just curious how those items would be addressed, because in principle, I like the recommendations from the Long Range Subcommittee, but I'm wondering how it would actually be applied in principle or in practice actually to a project, should they seek to modify their parking.
Yeah, so I'll begin the answer to your note about relocating ADA parking. Applicant or business can certainly relocate their ADA parking to any area of the site, as long as there's a clear path to the entrance of the business and that it meets the standards of width and length for the ADA parking space. And that includes like the white space for a passenger to get in and out of the vehicle. So as long as it meets those requirements, they could relocate the ADA parking spaces. Another thing I would mention too is the reduction of parking is at the discretion of the review authority. So it will go through review on whether or not it's appropriate to reduce the amount of parking for the outdoor dining space, and to what degree it may be reduced. So I know that's not specific, and it might not be the design standard response you're looking for, but there is limitations that are put into the zoning code that it wouldn't require, it would require review, I guess.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we do not have an applicant, so there is no presentation by applicant. Are there any additional public comments, Mr. Gillick?
Chair, I received no public comments for this item. However, if there is anybody on the platform with us that would like to speak, you'll have 3 minutes. If you're calling in, *9 for me at this time, then that will let me know if you'd like to speak. If you're on the Zoom platform, just use the raised hand feature. And Chair, it looks like we are all clear for this public comment.
Great. There's no rebuttal by applicant, so we are now going to close the public testimony portion of the hearing. Is there any response by staff? Okay. We will now move into discussion by commissioners. Does anybody want to start? Commissioner Gregoire.
Thank you. I do support moving this forward to City Council tonight. I just wanted to talk briefly about the parking issue. I've been on the commission for 5 months now, and the one thing that keeps bothering me is concerns about parking. I know state law has tied our hands with respect to a lot of affordable housing type projects and the like, but I definitely want to encourage the city to be mindful of the impact of everything that we do on the quality of life for the citizens of West Hollywood. And parking is a real concern, probably one of the top concerns of our community. I know there's a big push to get everyone to get rid of their cars and use bicycles. That's not really probably going to happen. Very, maybe over many decades we'll transition to that. But I do support this item, but I guess I am concerned about this in combination with many other steps the city is taking on eliminating parking requirements. I appreciate that the business community says that they're not going to be adversely affected by removing these parking spaces. I also appreciate that there were no major citations or no citations during the pandemic due to these out zones, but there was the volume of people going out to businesses in West Hollywood was significantly down during the pandemic as well. So as this moves forward to City Council and staff continues to work on it, I think we need to really, we really need to be mindful of what will be the cumulative impact of reducing parking minimums in many different contexts. And this is just one of many different pieces. So I guess that's all I would really say about it. I do support conforming off-site alcohol sales to state law. I think that's a terrific idea. But again, and I support, the reduced parking as well. But I guess I would just encourage passing on to City Council that we do need to consider the cumulative effect of reducing parking minimums on the quality of life of our citizens. We do need adequate parking, not just for the people who come to our city to eat and drink, but also for the residents who have to park their cars at night. So with that, I'll just say that I do support moving this forward tonight.
Commissioner Lombardi.
Thank you. I have a couple of thoughts, but perhaps I'll just focus on the parking zone text amendment to begin with, to keep things linear, since I believe, Commissioner Gregoire, that was the majority of your thoughts and comments, although you did make some notes on the other zone text amendment as well. To your points about parking, I think if I understand correctly, there are a few businesses that currently have arrangements for some off-site parking, and this may open up an opportunity for them to remove the requirement to purchase that off-site parking. So that could actually sort of magnify the amount of cars that are then trying to find an alternative place for parking, since it wouldn't be provided off-site. I'm wondering, and maybe this is a question for staff too, but I think that that's something just to add to the concerns in terms of additional parking reductions and what that may have as an impact to traffic. So it may further sort of modify the parking arrangements to other businesses as well. It's something to take into account. Although that said, I think I'm overall in support of this initiative and like it. I just wonder if we need to take that into consideration or discuss it a little bit more here and what that means. and then also think about the design aspects of what these changes mean and how we can streamline that for businesses and provide clear direction on things like tenting, lighting, ADA parking, and also where you would have loading zones or garbage collection. All of those sort of things become overlaid topics to just changing the zone text.
Commissioner Cavallero, did you have anything to add?
First I want Paige, thank you for all your time yesterday and our phone conversation. Our conversations helped clarify a lot of the questions that I had, because I was confusing a lot of what's happening on the design in regards to the design of how this plays out on city streets and in metered parking and behind our businesses. And now with your presentation and our conversation, I feel very comfortable moving both of these forward. You did say one thing, Paige, that kind of confused me in regards to response to Commissioner Lombardi's question, that you said that parking requirements will be at the discretion at the very end of your comment. And we are approving to eliminate outdoor dining parking requirements altogether. So where will it still be at somebody's discretion as to how much parking needs to be provided? What aspect of it?
For off-street parking, when ADA parking is required in those off-street parking lots, so like surface lots.
Okay, so that.
And the other thing I would just say too is I think we're assuming that every restaurant would rather have the outdoor dining area than parking, but they may decide to just keep their parking, right? They may decide that they would rather have the parking spaces.
But that would be really weird because, in my conversation with Paige, I understand that our design studio is going to be looking at it from a block by block scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And if one business chose to maintain their parking in front and the next business did not, I mean, that's, I'm assuming that will be resolved as you work through the design aspects, which will also resolve the drop-off zones, like the ADA and the loading dock. All those options will be presented to Planning Commission, towards the end of summer, I understand, as Paige mentioned. So yeah, my mind was sort of fixated on how it plays out in reality. And yeah, I'll be interested in seeing what comes back. But for the most part, I'm in support of both of these amendments.
Thank you, Commissioner. I support both zone text amendments. They encourage the economic vitality and longevity of our local businesses who are continuing to navigate their way post-COVID. Our businesses will not fully recoup for quite some time, and both measures allow for additional revenue, both through off-sale alcohol sales and the continued expansion of their business footprints. So I do support both of these ZTAs. I did initially have some concerns about parking, and Paige, thank you for that graphic of where the meters are and everything like that. I would have liked to have seen the proximity of the businesses that are currently using parking as dining in relation to the lots, but personally I cannot think of too many businesses using parking as dining that aren't within about 4 blocks of a parking structure. So I'm personally comfortable, and I feel comfortable supporting these ETAs with the 2 revisions that were included in the staff presentation. So, do we want?
I'll make a motion to approve the staff report.
Thank you, Commissioner Cavallero. Commissioner Lombardi.
I understand there's a motion on the floor. I guess I do have a question. If the commission would be open to a little bit of discussion, which is, I'm wondering if there's any thoughts about the change in the MCUP and CUP requirements for alcohol sales and the simplification of that process. I just would like to hear from everyone. To me, I feel like it's being rushed a little forward. That said, I'm really in support of making things easy for businesses, but I think it's something worth discussing. I know there's a motion on the floor now, but that's something that I would like to hear about a little bit.
It hasn't been seconded, so.
I'll second it.
Okay. Would it help if I described just briefly what the difference would be to kind of the public review part of that process, so that you have a better understanding of the kind of the hierarchy of the permits?
I have a comment, actually.
Okay.
I have a pretty good understanding of the process, and I guess my thought or concern is that there are times that we on the commission, hearing the public or reviewing the information, may make some suggestions or recommendations that get included in any in conditions, basically, that get put forward before it gets made official. And so that process gets reduced. In particular, I'm thinking about residential zones and how much, I guess, review and consideration beyond staff would exist, and what concerns may pop up, because I know that there's a few businesses that we've heard a lot of complaints in public comments here at this commission that come up again and again. So that's my concern there. That said, I like the idea of making everything streamlined for businesses, but it does feel like that discussion was bypassed, and now we're asked to pass this along to City Council.
So I think for the MCUP, that's one where it would be reduced from a CUP to an MCUP, and the noticing is similar. It's just the hearing body is different. So the benefit to the business would be that if there isn't opposition, so everybody would get the same notice, but if there's no opposition, then they'd be done at the MCP level. Whereas if there was opposition, then it could be appealed and it would be back before the commission. So the safety net is still there in terms of the public having that opportunity to get before the hearing body that they want to be before. And it could go all the way up to City Council. With all of these, they can be appealed. But the idea is that if there isn't opposition, they don't have to elevate to that higher authority and spend that money right up front. So it could provide savings to a lot of businesses that are non-controversial.
Anything else, Commissioner?
No, that's it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Gillig?
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Lombardi.
Yes.
Commissioner Gregoire.
Yes.
Commissioner Carvalero.
Yes.
Acting Chair Thomas.
Yes.
And the resolutions are adopted as presented. There is no appeal process. This is a recommendation to City Council.
Thank you. And that concludes our public hearing. Moving on to item 11A, Design Review Subcommittee Representative. The Planning Commission Chair will appoint one current Design Review Subcommittee member to the City Manager's Playhouse Advisory Group until completed. The City Manager's Playhouse Advisory Group is to appoint a representative. That person is to be appointed by our chair, Chair Jones, and she has elected to appoint Commissioner Cavallero to the City Manager's Playhouse Advisory Group. There will be no discussion or roll call vote since the chair has the power to appoint. Staff, do you have anything to add?
No. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you and congratulations. Next, Sunset Arts and Advertising Project Subcommittee meeting dates.
Good evening. So we had scheduled a period of time, just as we did in the past, for the Sunset Arts and Advertising Subcommittee to meet one of the two off Thursdays. So the second Thursday of the month, and then the Design Review Subcommittee would meet on the fourth Thursday of the month. I think that we would like to wait until the next Planning Commission meeting to have a more robust conversation about what the demand is for those Sunset Arts and Advertising Subcommittee meeting dates, since we've had a number that were scheduled that have been pushed off or canceled. So I think that I would like to put to table slightly, but there is one item that needs more immediate attention, and we would like to schedule a Sunset Arts and Advertising Subcommittee meeting for the date July 28th, if that is amenable to the members of the subcommittee, so that we can move one of the items forward to the full commission, in a timely manner in August.
Do we have members from that, Commissioner Lombardi?
Only me, right? So was it July 28th?
Yeah. Yes.
I can only answer for myself, but let me check.
That's fair. And we should have another Planning Commission. Actually, no, we wouldn't have another Planning Commission meeting in time to make that decision, but we will circle back with the members of the Sunset Arts and Advertising Subcommittee to confirm that date. And then we'll re-agendize a discussion of ongoing meetings once we get a better idea of availability and also of the demand for those meetings going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 12, unfinished business. There is none. Excluded consent calendar. There is none. Items from staff. Planning managers update.
Me again. Okay. For not having any items, I'm talking a lot. So for Planning Commission update upcoming on your agendas, tonight is the 16th of June. The next scheduled meeting would be July 7th. However, we don't have any items for that evening, so it will be canceled. We do have a fairly full agenda on the 21st, which at this moment would be back in the council chambers. We're looking at having 3 different subdivision. Those are just condo map subdivisions on that agenda. Following, I'm sorry, I should have started off with elections of chair and vice chair for the full term through June 30th, 2023. Then we have, I believe, and David Gilley, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we will have swearing in of our newly appointed commissioner.
Yes, our newly appointed her name is Kimberly Copeland, and she will be sworn in as of this date on July 21st.
So that's very good. And okay, and then we'll have 3 subdivision items. A new bar, conditional use permit for a new bar at 8275 Santa Monica Boulevard, and then a 6-story mixed use project at 8500 Santa Monica Boulevard would also go on that evening. And then on August 4th, we would be doing appointments to subcommittees. And it looks like there's a handful of items on that agenda. Again, that's a little ways out, but right now we're looking at a subdivision as well for 933 Spalding, the West Hollywood West Design Review Standards Review, and a zone text amendment regarding fossil fuel service stations. I will go ahead and update on subcommittees. The Design Review Subcommittee next meeting would be July 14th. At that meeting, we've got 8850 Sunset Boulevard, which is a mixed-use hotel. It was previously reviewed, I believe, in April. coming back with changes, and project at 948 to 954 San Vicente Boulevard. It's a 24-unit multifamily residential development. We have one item that we would like to, actually, I don't have that in front of me, but I will update you next time. For like I mentioned, there's one for Sunset Arts and Advertising Subcommittee on July 28th. And that is all I have for updates. Thank you. Unless you have questions for me.
No, thank you so much. Next up, public comment. Mr. Gillig, do we have any public comment?
Chair, we have no public comment for this item.
Okay, next up, items from commissioners. Commissioner Lombardi.
Thank you. I just wanted to congratulate Commissioner Cavallero to the appointment to the Managers Playhouse Advisory Group, and just wanted to say I think we're in really good hands. Getting to sit with you on the Design Review Subcommittee, I'm really pleased that you'll be taking this on. And congratulations.
Thank you.
I echo that sentiment. Commissioner Gregoire.
You know, looking at the fact we are very close to not having a quorum at this meeting, I just want to give people a heads up. I won't be able to attend the August 18th Planning Commission meeting, which is our second meeting in August. So just want to cue that up for people, staff, and planning ahead. And I hope everybody's having a happy LGBTQ Pride Month. I'm tired after back-to-back Pride celebrations in the city. WeHo Pride, the inaugural WeHo Pride, is a success.
WeHo Pride was amazing, and I was so honored to be on the city float during LA Pride as well. Our mayor's got some moves, y'all. She was moving and grooving the entire duration, even before we stepped off. She was jamming. So if you ever get a chance, check it out. So Commissioner Cavallero, do you have anything before we move on?
I do not, but thank you.
Sure. Moving on to subcommittee management. Are there any absences that anyone needs to announce for their subcommittees? No? Okay, with that, we are adjourned. Noting the cancellation of the Planning Commission meeting on Thursday, July 7th, the Planning Commission will adjourn to a regularly scheduled meeting on Thursday, July 21st, beginning at 6:30 p.m. until completion at West Hollywood Park Public Meeting Room, Council Chambers at 625 North San Vicente Boulevard in West Hollywood. Thank you and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good night.